So I saw three new movies over this past weekend, two of which I wasn't a fan of, and the other I liked. So let's quickly review all three. Starting off, there's The Bride, which is now playing in theaters. This is a period romantic crime monster film that's inspired by the 1935 classic Bride of Frankenstein, and it's written and directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal. It stars Jessie Buckley as the bride and Christian Bale as Frankenstein's monster, who goes by Frank in this movie. It also features Annette Bening, Peter Sarsgaard, Penelope Cruz, and Jake Gyllenhaal. And look, I think Maggie Gyllenhaal has talent as a filmmaker. I also think the cast for this movie is great. But the movie itself has a lot of problems. It has a severe identity crisis as it attempts to tackle too many genres and goes back and forth between over-the-top campy and overly self-serious. The slapdash story is all over the place with a bombastic script, and the pacing just drags on and on. The movie does take some big swings, but it ends up being a monstrous mix of ingredients that don't really gel together. I give The Bride a 2 out of 5. Next, there's War Machine, which is now currently streaming on Netflix. If I had a nickel for every time Netflix released a movie with the title War Machine, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird it happened twice. This is a sci-fi action film starring Alan Ritchson, who plays a combat engineer who must lead his Army Ranger unit in training into a fight against an otherworldly alien robot. This honestly feels like a straight-to-DVD ripoff of Predator and Transformers. It's entirely cliched and generic, it's poorly written, it's tonally inconsistent in its direction. The action feels like a lesser imitation of Michael Bay's Bayhem. And while the movie does get a tiny bit better once it goes from being pure military propaganda to being a sci-fi B-movie, it's ultimately nothing memorable or special. I give War Machine a 1.5 out of 5. And finally, there's Heel, which is now available to rent on Apple TV and Prime Video. Part drama and part domestic thriller, this movie follows a volatile and aggressive teenager who gets abducted and wakes up to find himself chained in the basement of a remote home that belongs to a strange yet mild-mannered family. It starts out uncomfortable, tense, and rather twisted, and you think it's gonna go one way, but eventually it goes in a completely different and surprisingly empathetic direction that I truthfully wasn't expecting. It's a slow burn that explores parenting, nature versus nurture, family, and punishment. Sometimes it moves a little too slowly, and one plotline in particular ends kinda weirdly. But the movie is also clever, well shot, and bolstered by some fantastic performances from Stephen Graham, Andrea Riseborough, and Anson Boone. I give Heel a 3.5 out of 5.